Mr. Twin Sister, Mundo Azul, album review. Let's chat about it. Hey guys, what's going on? John here from What's Spinning here tonight to chat about this latest from Mr. Twin Sister, New York-based band. They've been at it for a few years now, even though this is their first studio album in like 4 or 5 years. They're a New York-based band, and I got into them around the time of their In Heaven album. This was at the absolute height of my chillwave obsession when I was spinning nothing but Neon Indian and Toro y Moi all damn day. And this debut, I thought it was okay. I thought it was pretty decent in parts, even though overall I thought the album was just maybe a little too sunny for my liking. But then their self-titled debut album came out a few years later, and I was so impressed by it. It ended up being, one of my favorites of the year, actually. This was a dream pop album with tons of notes of sophistopop, very influenced by Sade, I feel like. There was a lot of really cool, very warm rhythms, and not only that, but this album got genuinely groovy at points. But their follow-up, Salt, I don't know. I thought it was a little disappointing. It certainly had some good moments. There were some funky licks here and there. I don't know, though. It just wasn't the same for me overall. Now, leading up to this album, I had all the feelings on these new singles. Some were pretty good. Some were really bad, almost to the point where I didn't even want to review this album. Let's chat about this thing. I mean, I have no problem saying this. A good hunk of this album is seriously groovy. And when Mr. Twin Sister are focused, they can put out some really groovy, funky jams. Fantasy, truthfully, this is a great intro. I love the glitzy atmosphere. I love the sleek funk of this track. It's honestly bringing me right back to what I liked about their self-titled album so much. It grooves pretty hard. It's pretty expansive. It's tightly performed, and not only that, it's fun. Not only that, but it reminds me of just how much personality this band had at one point. Very, very fun. Very colorful. Expressions, on the other hand, has even more funk to it. It's even more colorful. This riff is absolutely fantastic. Of all the singles leading up to this album, this one easily stuck with me the most. The sheer amount of swagger on this track would make the boys from Chromeo blush. This just takes me back to such a simple time where I had a lot of faith and hope in Mr. Twin Sister. Youth Obsessed, on the other hand, is strangely dirty. This is far beyond the very glistening, sophisticated pop ballads that we were getting on their self-titled. But honestly, this works for me. This absolutely has some Prince elements, even though I'm still getting some light Sade vibes as well. I mean, yeah, it's a little on the stiff side, but it comes off like a Mr. Twin Sister track. Those big 80s synths, too, those are great. That sleazy horn solo that we get as well, right on. And I dare you to try and sit still with Carmen on. Between the sultry vocals and the serious groove that this track has, this has a lot going for it. This is honestly what I wanted to hear all around. Love the glistening production as well. It's not like Mr. Twin Sister can't write a track that goes pretty hard. Clearly they can. And the Latin flair that we get in the later moments, right on. But there is a serious slump in the middle of this album that gets really bad really fast, and honestly is kind of what I expected to hear from even more from Mr. Twin Sister. Like Beazle, this track is so stiff. Sure, the very slick instrumental will probably get you up and moving, but a lot of the rest of this track has no emotion, no feeling whatsoever. It's all technique and no passion for me. And Ballerino, hearing this leading up to this album, I genuinely almost wanted to just shut off this album and not give it a shot. I don't know what happened to the sharp songwriting and the quirky personalities that we were getting earlier. This is certainly far from that. This is genuinely cheesy, incredibly flat. It barely has a groove. And Polvo is just so middle of the road. It certainly does have a big, bulky beat that's actually not that bad. But outside of that, this is not fun. This performance is incredibly flat. I mean, thank God my feet are moving, because this track has nothing else than a flashy beat. And a lot of the late album tracks just are very hit or miss. Diary, honestly, might be the best track here. I love the sultry performance and the very shiny, almost new disco-inspired riff. When you talk about a late album treat, this is just fun. Then we have the Pine Tree, which is not quirky or adventurous, even though it kind of thinks it is. It's fine. There are some elements that I don't hate. Love those synths once again. And that saxophone that pops in. I needed that like 5 tracks ago, but all of it does not come together. It clashes pretty ugly. Not only that, but I feel like Mr. Twin Sister are trying to make up for lost ground really quick. Despoil, on the other hand, is really great. God, when they focus, these beats are so great and their sound is so fresh. And you know what? I have to say this, but honestly, when this album, even when it's at its funkiest, rarely is it not super, super classy. Like, if you want to sum up the sound, Mr. Twin Sister, in one track, look no further. But then we get this album's finale, El Mundo Azul, and I'm not feeling it. This is a weird finale with certainly, there are some good elements like those warm percussion parts. That's something that I wish I heard so much more of because that's so fresh and so exciting. It also shows them kind of going back to that sophisti-pop of their last album. I genuinely feel like, I don't know, the pacing here is so bad that it gets under my skin. It does not crawl back out. And honestly, these instrumentals seem at odds with one another, fighting with one another. It's just so ugly. It just doesn't sound right. And the vocals suck on this track. My God. Even the later, more spacious moments are so boring. This is a really tough album to gauge. There's a handful of tracks here that are some of the best alternative dance and synth pop tunes I've heard all year. By far, too, but so much of this album also falls flat so quick, and when it does, it's not fun, it's not quirky, and it's not nearly as interesting as it thinks it is. It's very lukewarm of an album, honestly, overall. Those bad tracks really bring this album down very fast. I'm feeling a strong 6 on this album, but let me know what you guys think down below. If you like the video, be sure to give us a like, give us a subscribe, and let me know down below what you would like for me to chat about in the future. Until next time, have a great day, guys.